If you've recently been cheated on, there is a lot of different advice that exists on the internet, including my own, on how you can navigate it, how you can make decisions, and how you can begin to heal. And I want to address specifically the people that are pretty early on in the stages of you recently discovered the infidelity, your whole life just feels incredibly turned upside down right now. There are actually a lot of easy things that you can do to make your life a little bit more manageable upfront. So I want to address some of the easy things that you can do. And this is going to be useful even if you aren't in the early stages, because oftentimes we get by well enough with a certain number of strategies that we've developed or fallen into, and we don't consider what other options there are. And so this is not going to be a checklist for you to follow in terms of make sure you're doing every single one of these. My main goal is that everybody listening to this would hear one thing that maybe they hadn't considered that's a good fit for their situation, and they're able to begin utilizing it. The first thing that I would say is you need to tell someone. If the only person that is able to help you navigate the pain that has been caused by your partner's infidelity is your partner, then you're in a really unhealthy dynamic with them, where their thoughts on it are going to be deeply influencing your own mental processing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're in the slightly rarer category of the person who cheated on you actually does have your best intentions in mind right now. But you have to think about it. You have to be honest with yourself. For a higher percentage of people, the person who cheated is clearly willing to engage in very selfish behavior. And so the advice they give, the way they approach it, will probably still be pretty selfish, either directly in the advice or in just the dynamic of how the conversation goes. Like they might not want to be able to hold space and explore some of the more painful things because it makes them feel bad. And so, because they're a little bit selfish, they just won't want to really fully hear you out. I know that there's a lot of fear and worry around, well, what if I tell too many people and we end up reconciling and then I either look silly or they look at us weird? Things just are complicated. It's worth that risk. And it's not your fault that you're in this situation. Go ahead and tell a couple of family members, go ahead and tell a couple of friends. You want more than just one voice. And even beyond your partner, it still is helpful to have a couple of different people that you can bounce ideas off of. Another reason why this is helpful is because you don't want to, you might have certain weeks, let's say, where 5 out of 7 days, there is something your partner's done, or there is something you're remembering that they've done that you discovered that is just driving you crazy and you want someone to talk to. You are risking burning people out if you're returning to the same one person every single day. But if you have kind of a mixture of some friends, some family, some professionals you can talk to, then that will help. The second thing I would recommend is talking to a professional, like I just mentioned. It can be a therapist, it can be a counselor, it can be a coach, it can be a pastor or chaplain. My personal take is that the exact title matters less than A, if they have some experience dealing with betrayal and navigating it, that helps a lot. And B, like, are they just good at what they do? Are they good at sitting there, holding space, asking good questions, helping you explore your own thoughts, helping you challenge your own assumptions? Like, that's really what you're looking for. And I'm sure this is obvious, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but having someone to help guide you through this who can see around some of the corners is extremely helpful. Number 3 is just a good routine. So think about how you structure your day-to-day life. What are you doing when you first wake up? I know that for a lot of people, when you first wake up, it's very easy to fall into intrusive thoughts, to immediately being angry about everything that happened. Keep yourself relatively busy as soon as you wake up if you know that that is a common difficult time period for you. So if you wake up and immediately go to the gym, at least you have something to keep your body busy that will help your mind be less distracted. And so that's from the perspective of how do you structure your time? Identify the areas, the points in your day when you're most likely to start spiraling mentally, and have there be something productive that you do during that time each day. But there's another dynamic, which is more of the checklist approach of, are you drinking water? Are you getting sunlight? Are you getting exercise? Are you eating food? The mental frame that is here is that you need to view yourself as someone that you have been entrusted to be taken care of. Imagine that right now you are your own pet. In the same way that it would be cruel to say, I'm going to take care of this dog, or I'm going to take care of this cat, and then fail to do the basics, it would be cruel to do that for yourself right now also, while you're in crisis, while you're struggling. Make sure that those basic needs are being taken care of. And if you're struggling with that, then ignore everything else. Like, this is the main priority, to just make sure that you are taking care of the basics. One layer deeper, though, is you could also think of, what are the things that I can do each day that bring me a little bit of happiness, fulfillment, and purpose beyond this? Because one of the things that happens with infidelity is it is this really big rupture to your sense of self, to your sense of safety, to your identity. And when you're in it, it can feel like this is all that exists. It's all chaos. This is my entire life. And until I figure this all out, I can't even enjoy anything else. The more that you can step outside of that bubble, even for just brief moments each day, it reminds your body and your nervous system that there is more to life than this person, that there is more to life than the infidelity. The goal here is not to pick something that is in line in some spiritual sense to your true soul's purpose or your true self or your true identity. Forget that. You don't know what that is right now. You're in flux. You're in limbo in a lot of ways. It's just to do something that is fun. Do something fun each day. And it can start off with something like a TV series if that's where you're at. But I do recommend pushing yourself, doing something that is out of the house or that involves other people is going to be more helpful and more useful for just reminding yourself that there is a world beyond this. Because if it's in the house, like, yes, that can work, but it's like you're still there, you're still reminded of everything. Like, get out and do something fun, even if it takes some effort, and even if it's not the most significant thing. It could be going to the gym, it could be going to a yoga class, could be going to a book club, could be going to church, could be playing volleyball with friends. The next step that I would recommend is on the kind of self-development and mental health habits side of things. There's a lot of different things that are good practices: mindfulness meditation, journaling, sitting with your emotions, stuff like that. They're all helpful. Breath work. These types of things just get you more in touch with your own mind, your own emotions, and it reintroduces a feeling of agency and some control. Like, you're not just constantly responding to what's going on around you, but when you sit down to meditate, for example, or you sit down to journal, or you sit down to do breath work, what you are doing is important, but the larger message that you're sending to yourself is, I have some agency here. I have some control over how I feel inside. And that is extremely important. And this is different, in my opinion, than just doing the therapy, just getting coaching, just having those moments that are more focused every week or every couple weeks where you do the deeper inner work. Like, that's one thing. But then this is just like that daily reminder. It does not have to be long. Like, when I meditate personally, I do it for around 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes each day. And it's literally just closing my eyes. The way I do it is very physical based. Like, I will notice different areas in my body that feel different. Maybe I'll feel an area that just feels a lot cooler or tingly, and I'll just put attention on it and just kind of sit with those sensations. And it's nice for me because it gets me out of my head and it just has me aware of my body for about 5 to 10 minutes. For me, calms me down, makes me feel regulated, makes me feel in control of what I choose to do next beyond that. The next major tool that you have is, regardless of what it is that you are struggling with, you can almost always gain some benefit through what I call containment. Let's say that your big thing is you and your partner are constantly arguing about the infidelity, or you are constantly trying to go back and look through the timeline of what happened, or you're constantly going back and asking new questions. There's an element where your brain just won't turn off. If that's you, and it's most people, or if it's just sad, or if it's just crying, the biggest recommendation that I have is to provide some containment around that. Start with it being every day, and then see how much you can wean off of it. Move it to every other day, move it to every third day. But what you're going to do is you're going to allow yourself a time that day where you give yourself complete permission to feel however pathetic, however crazy, do as much digging as you want. And then when the timer is up, you're going to stop and remind yourself that you can pick it back up tomorrow. Because what happens is this feels so important and it feels like such a priority that you feel like you're failing yourself or something if you're not constantly doing it. But by making it a daily priority at first, you're going to be able to convince yourself, like, no, this is still important. I did it today. I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm doing it the day after that. Like, I'm working on this, which gives your brain a little bit of the relief. Like, okay, this is still happening. I don't have to do it all the time. The next big piece of advice that I would give is just to remember that not every single emotion that you feel means anything. I think a lot of people wake up and they feel enthusiastic about the future, and therefore they say, okay, that means that I need to reconcile. The next day they wake up and they feel angry, and they interpret that as meaning, this means therefore that I need to not reconcile. I need to get a divorce. Our emotions are very complicated, and our emotions deserve to be sat with, but decision making and emotional processing are distinct and equally important priorities. And so don't let the emotions turn into these big stories. Likewise, every emotion that you have doesn't equal that you have to have a conversation with them about it. You can feel tremendous pain about what they did to you without having to send a massive text. Because when you do that, it just keeps you in the cycle longer. Whereas if you learn to just sit with yourself, talk yourself through what you're feeling, you can usually move through that. I'll throw out a random number. I'd say about 5 times faster, maybe even 10 times faster than if you were to involve the other person. And if it is something that does require a conversation, great, go for it. But if the goal is to just feel a little bit better in the moment, you're going to be able to do that faster on your own. So becoming independent is a huge part of this. And that leads me to my next point, which is that it is often possible to be simultaneously preparing for both outcomes. A lot of people think they have to pick and choose whether they're going to stay or leave before they can begin working on their own healing journey at all. But the way that I see it is becoming more independent, becoming more self-sufficient, and becoming more healed, addressing your own wounds, your own insecurities, is going to be a benefit no matter what. Whether you stay or leave, you're going to be able to enjoy the freedom of independence way more if you actually feel independent and competent to be able to navigate your own life. And if you stay, you're far more capable of discerning any future BS that they might be starting to put you through if you do that work to become your own stable, competent person. And on top of that, doing that work first enables you to make the best decision. And so in my opinion, there isn't even a very complex first decision to make after being cheated on. It is to become focused on yourself, focused on your own healing, focused on your own path. Whether that ends up involving them is a second or third level priority. It is not the most important thing. So I don't know how many specific pieces of advice that was. I lost track along the way. But those are some tips, especially for people who are earlier on. My goal, like I said, isn't for you to take 3 or 4 of the things I said and begin implementing them. Take one. Like, pick the lowest hanging fruit, the one that feels easiest to implement right now, the one that feels the most realistic. If you hear this and for one of them you're like, but I have no idea how to do that, then skip it for now. Maybe make a mental note to come back to it later. But if there's one where it's like, yeah, I haven't done that, and I probably could, and I probably should, and it almost feels like annoying, like annoyingly obvious, do that. Like, that is the best one to start with.